All righty. My name is Tyra, and I am making this video just as a part of my healing process. Um, I had COVID. December 31st is when I had my first, um, where I just could not function anymore, is when I knew something was wrong. And it is this is December 31st, 2020. So yeah, I started out 2021 in the throes of COVID, and today is February the 24th. Oh, and I still am dealing with feeling like I'm different than I was before COVID. So I just assume whatever I'm feeling is from COVID. So the first week, well, actually January 31st, it was like I fell back into COVID. My last symptom in January from my initial COVID symptoms was the 21st of January. So by January 31st, I was like, wow, something's wrong. It was like I experienced COVID all over again. Just that the way I describe it is that like 60 to 70%. It wasn't 100% like, the strength of the first time. It was like that, but at more like 60, 70% of the strength. Um, Plus, I had already been through it, so I knew immediately to go to sleep and everything. And if it unfolded almost exactly the same, like I started initially feeling flighty, ungrounded is the way I describe it. And then the next day I had zero energy. All I could do was sleep. That was probably 2 or 3 days after the first day of just feeling like ungrounded. I feel like when I take cold medicine that stops the coughs and it makes your head just feel like, just spacey or something. That's my first day of COVID. And then 2 or 3 days, maybe 3 or 4 days after that, is all I can do is really just sleep and almost do nothing. Um, and then I remember the second time around, I lost my taste. Now this was a little different because the first time around, I didn't realize I had COVID initially because I never fully lost my taste. But I remember in the beginning there was something odd about how things smelled. It was like I could smell bleach, um, and my sense of taste was not gone. Like I would check, like, have I lost my sense of taste? Do I have COVID? And I could taste it. Just it was a decreased sense of taste. And this was in the beginning. I just didn't know I had COVID. So the second time around, though, the loss of taste, and it's more of a decreased sense of taste, and my tongue feels funny. That happened um uh around day 5, maybe. Um, and with the loss of taste comes a stomach ache. So yeah, I had a stomach ache. And so it's like the stomach ache will leave after a few days, but my sense of taste stayed decreased or whatever. And let's see here. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was around the 18th or 19th is when I was like, okay, I think I have my taste fully back. Maybe around the 16th, 17th of February, I felt like I had my taste fully back. And then, sorry, my eyes itching. um, Around the 18th or 19th or something like that, um, I started feeling like my taste was leaving again. It's like in and out, in and out. And every time I lose my taste, I get an upset stomach. That was one of the things that I really struggled with during COVID was feeling nauseated and having an upset stomach. The reason I know it's like around the 19th or so is because my family went and stayed in a cabin. And part of the time I was there, I had a stomach ache. I was like so frustrated. I'm like, this is the first time we've gone somewhere since before the pandemic. Um, and, I'm sitting here with an upset stomach. So today is the 24th. And yeah, this upset stomach, it just it's the gift that keeps on giving. And so uh anywho, I'm really doing this to kind of create more structure in my healing. And so this morning I was listening to my mindfulness course. Eh, I don't know if this person is the only one, but he's like a modern day mindfulness. John Kabat-Zinn was talking about the 9 attitudes that that are good for cultivating and living life, and just taking into your daily way of operating. And I remember the one that caught me the most was acceptance. Um, and as this morning passes and my stomach is upset and I just feel so frustrated, like so mad, that's what I hear: acceptance. And I pulled this up because someone is summarizing what he wrote about. It says acceptance is the act of coming to terms with things as they actually are in the very moment. This does not mean we will not act to change circumstances when we find it necessary. On the contrary, full acceptance is often needed for any process of healing to advance. And so I said, this is my word of the day for sure. But I'm going to really chew on this topic of acceptance and this attitude of acceptance, because one of the things that he said that resonated with me was something to the effect of, you really cannot change what you don't accept. And what some of my lessons are for COVID is how insensitive this culture is. I don't know if it's the world, but it's American culture, I can say for sure. How insensitive this culture is to people who are suffering, to people who are not well. Um, it's like we don't know how to deal with hard times. And I've said this for years, like, even though this is a country where people experience actually quite a bit of hard times, it's still such uh, a rich and abundant culture that it's almost like you can buy your way out of a lot of stuff, or we stay so caught up in chasing the dream that, it numbs us to the pain that we are actually experiencing on a regular basis. A lot of us, I would say the majority of this culture is in pain. It doesn't matter. People can talk about the ones that are more evident, such as, the BIPOC community here. Um, many subsets of women and children and the elderly. Like, I just don't think children, Like, I'm like, wow, we just don't do a good job of really cultivating children in a natural way, but children don't even realize it, but um, I am of the belief that racism is one of the most horrible diseases anybody can have. I mean, it's like it is the consummate disease of lack of acceptance. And because, it's such a racist culture, if racism thrives in lack of acceptance, then this is why maybe perhaps, my God, I'm just like coming to terms with this, could be why it's so difficult for this culture to really be present with people who are suffering. It's to be present with people who are suffering. And so part of the mindset, I don't know if it's just here and other places, but I can speak for the United States. There's this extreme uh, vibe of control. You must be in control, be in power, you know, it's just, don't be weak at all. You can't show weakness. Some of it for my people, when I say my people, I'm talking about Black and brown people, Afros especially. We can't show weakness because we constantly are like fighting for our lives. Um, but in general, it doesn't seem like anybody escapes this do not appear weak, or else, like you'll never rise to the top. Being weak is bad. And it's not that weak is bad. Being super strong isn't necessarily good. Like, look at where it's getting us. But this is how we are programmed. And so, I say this with much respect. But just sometimes when I hear people, the way they talk about cancer, kick cancer's ass, I hate cancer, cancer sucks. It's like, how the hell are we going to get over cancer if this is the attitude that people have? It's like, I don't know. Here lately, I've just been talking about the need for a softer approach. And it's just like this, I don't know. It's always this strength. There's always this strength. And I just find that a lot of times the people who get healed up, they're the ones that steep themselves into being ultra vulnerable. And a lot of times, it's people who are just, they're at their last rope, this is it. I have no other choice but to surrender. And when they surrender to, like, for instance, one of my friends had my friend's friend had maybe, I don't know what kind of cancer it was. It was some type of cancer, maybe lung cancer. She uprooted herself. She was blessed, and people blessed her with some, financial abundance because she didn't have it. Some good people in her life blessed her with financial abundance to go to Mexico. And I've heard of so many people who go to Mexico and eat the food there and connect with nature and be immersed in self-care and have miraculous turnarounds in their health. And this is what happened to my friend's friend. I want to say she had another good 2 or 3 years of health before she got sick again and eventually died. But her cancer was extremely advanced when they found it, if I remember correctly. And so just watching so many people who just fall into vulnerability and being loved on and lots of self-care, um, you see some great turnarounds, even if it's not life-threatening. A lot of times the people who just said, I just decided to start taking care of myself. It's no, I'm kicking this disease's ass. It's not that. And this is something that I think is important is when we find ourselves not well, acceptance is the best thing, because now we can begin to inquire of what's really going on, what has created this imbalance. And so for me, I can say, oh, I got COVID and that's why I have the stomach ache. But I can also say, because COVID stopped me in my tracks. It really has only been in the last maybe 2 years that I've begun to think I might be a workaholic. Like I've been a stay-at-home mom, and you just feel like you're always on a hamster wheel. And I don't feel like I'm actually like the best homemaker there is. But I've always found ways to just stay busy, busy, busy. Don't want to appear to be lazy. That's an attitude I have. I don't want anybody to think that I'm lazy. And of course, that's some of the programming from American culture. Don't be lazy. Um, hmm. I just said because it's like, don't be lazy, but look at what not being lazy is doing for a lot of us. It's killing us. And the ones who are taking time off and not having all this stress hormones, they're doing great. Uh, my mama used to say people don't value their health until they lose it, and then they'll pay any amount of money to get it back. Sometimes money, it ain't gonna buy you the things that matter the most, such as your mental well-being and your your health, you know. And so just the sentiment I feel with the long haulers from COVID is how uncomfortable people are with us. And that's not in my particular situation, but also I realized immediately I was going to have to tell people, do not treat me like I'm a complainer and a whiner, because I'm not. Because one of the things that I'm clear about, why would we go on and on and on? First of all, none of us wanted to have COVID. Uh, and then secondly, why would we fake it just to get some attention? Like I said, I'm all of January, all of February, 2 full months almost, I have been dealing with this. Why would I make this up? You know? But it's highly disruptive for us to have been healthy. And now it's like, oh my gosh, like I have to go get an echocardiogram, and other folks got it way worse than me. I'm like, oh my gosh. And these are not people who are on ventilators. See, this is the difference. The ones who are on the ventilators, their lives forever changed. Um, you know, forever changed. Um, I'm largely focused on, I can't imagine somebody who's on a ventilator not eventually becoming a part of the long haulers. Is the ones of us that had it, we stayed at home, but there's still just some symptoms that we're dealing with. I have it not so hard. That's part of how I keep a peace of mind about not feeling well. It's like, oh, when I start looking at other long haulers, I'm like, oh, I have nothing to complain about. But yeah, it just seems like we live in a culture that doesn't do a good job with acceptance. And I am accepting where I am, which is this up and down thing. Like yesterday, my stomach was upset for quite a few hours. And then later that evening, my stomach wasn't upset. I'm not sure what the difference was. I need to start, taking note. Um, Also, one of the things that I found interesting for me with COVID is I craved broccoli, kale, cabbage, and cauliflower. And I've gotten away from that because I don't crave it in my mouth, since I recovered both times of recovering. Actually, the second time I did go back into eating all of that while I was sick. And so maybe what I told myself today is maybe my body is craving it because I don't feel well. The not feeling well, the feeling nauseous is me. Um, is actually my body's way of saying, go get those vegetables. So guess who's going to be getting on those vegetables and not getting off? um, so yeah, that's my biggest thing today, acceptance. Acceptance is the act of coming to terms with things as they actually are in the very moment. This does not mean we will not act to change circumstances when we find it necessary. On the contrary, full acceptance is often needed for any process of healing to advance. Yeah. And so, yeah, this is my mindfulness lesson as I continue to work to, first of all, apply mindfulness in my own life, as well as to heal my body. That's the thing that I said to myself. Like, let's let's look at this. I said I can't accept that I have to live like this, knowing what I know about the infinite wisdom of my body, the infinite intelligence of my body, knowing what I know about how there's infinite wisdom and there's no way there's not a solution to what's going on. Um, but in me not accepting that, I guess I look at other people who are long haulers and I'm like, I really and truly, the one issue I take with looking at the long haulers group is um, it's just the constant posting of the pain and the aches, and I'm not opposed to that, because it is weird when we first get COVID and then afterwards, because we're so used to like getting a cold or even something like the flu. I remember I had the flu a few years back. I like within 2 weeks, I was like totally back to myself. There was no turning back, right? And so it messes with our minds. And people around you, if they haven't had this experience, they don't understand. And so you go into one of these COVID groups and people are posting, oh, I got this and I got that. Or just 2 months out, 5 months out, 6 months out, and I still have this or that. And it's like, oh, okay. So, you just don't feel so crazy. But I guess because it's so new, and so the types of people who've gotten COVID are so different. And so I'm used to people who are like, okay, well, let's see, let me try this healing modality, let me try that healing modality or whatever. And so to sit around and just talk about my symptoms all the time, no, I want to be able to say, I don't feel well. And I don't want nobody to be uncomfortable with that. That's what I'm talking about. This culture has to learn how to just say, okay, you don't feel well. I don't want to, don't tell me nothing about trying to, like change what is right here, right now. Let me accept this is what I feel. This is, let me express it and not have to lie about it so that I don't make other people feel uncomfortable or I don't want to sound like a whiner or whatever. And so, uh, but I'm used to hanging out with people who or in groups. We do lots of healing work, body, mind, spirit, and emotion. And so I'm not used to just sitting around talking about the problems without looking for solutions. And so that's why I said, man, I cannot accept. I'm gonna have to sit around and like I don't even really want to put the label on me long hauler. I just accept I'm having an experience of, these long-term COVID symptoms, but I don't want to say I am a long hauler because then I'm embracing it, right? And I'm doing my best to accept where I am and not just be like, oh, I gotta control it. I can move past this, I can do this, I can do that, you know So, in saying I can't accept that I'm gonna have to deal with an upset stomach for the rest of my life, which I think is ridiculous. Like, I'm like, my nurse practitioner said, give yourself 6 months. So I'm like, okay. But in saying that, part of what I know has to happen is I have to accept what is. What I mean, like, what if for the rest of my life I'm dealing with a stomach ache? I might end up skinny. Because I'm like, I cannot keep eating. Eating is not helping. And yeah, part of my healing will come from acceptance of what is so that I can open myself to the actual solution, whatever that is. There's another one too, non-striving. This attitude invites us to rest in the being mode without striving for certain results. It encourages us to prioritize time of doing nothing, which will often, in its paradoxical way, show us that doing nothing is one of the most important things we can do. And that was one of the things I got from this COVID experience. Less is more, baby girl. Less is more. So yeah, non-striving, acceptance of where I am, but at the same time, non-striving and allowing is something else that I am putting myself in a posture of just allowing. And I don't know all the time why things happen. My whole family has it. I'm the only one that's experiencing these long-term, COVID symptoms. Thank goodness I received that. Um, but I've said COVID saved my life. Anything I don't want to do right now, I can say I can't do it. So yeah, let's look at the rest of these. Non-judging, that's a good one for COVID. Long haulers. When we begin a meditation practice, we will most probably become aware of our own judgmental mind and thoughts, judging us, judging the practice, and maybe even judging itself for judging. The attitude of non-judgment guides us guides us to rest inside our own self as the non-judging awareness, just witnessing everything unfolding in our experience. If judging is happening, we just notice that without judgment. I don't know where my little towel is because my glasses are so dirty. So, wow, like that is so true. And for me, non-judging allows me to stay in the moment and not think about what was before, which it wasn't like I was in the greatest feeling place. I was greatly improved from perimenopause when I was deep in that, but um, I'm taking all kinds of stuff to anti-inflammatory stuff. Um, and then non-judging is in, sort of being jealous of other people who are not experiencing this. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want other people to experience it. I'm just saying I feel jealous because they feel well and I don't. Don't know. I don't want anybody. I don't want misery to. I don't want company to join this misery. It's just, yeah. I want to be able to exercise and feel okay and not feel nauseated right away. That's another thing. Like getting down and doing planks and stuff. I don't like that. It makes my stomach so upset. So upset. Patience is a form of wisdom. It's about understanding and accepting the fact that sometimes things have to unfold in their own time. In meditation, the attitude of patience is needed to repeatedly bring the wandering mind to the present moment. And oh my God, patience is definitely an attitude that is needed for people experiencing long-term COVID symptoms. Beginner's mind. helps us to be receptive to new possibilities. That's promising, seeing our reality with new eyes. It is about letting go of the attitude that we already have all the answers and being willing to try and see what happens. Hmm, I can do that. I do feel like COVID reset my whole life. I mean, I have so many constructs in place that were there before, but man, I have new eyes for real. And every time I get a stomach ache, wow, I whatever I have been thinking about, I don't even care about. It's like, all I can do is just be right here in this moment. Trust, developing a basic trust in yourself and your feelings is an essential part of meditation training. Um, Mindfulness puts you in contact with your own authority and leads you to start finding the answers within rather than searching for the guidance from the outside. So that's a key word for me, trust. Um, and I feel like I haven't trusted myself a lot. There's a lot that I do, especially when it comes to my body. Um, ugh, I really trust myself. I always say I know myself. I already talked about non-striving acceptance, letting go, just like we need to exhale to be able to inhale new fresh air of the oxygen we need to live. Being able to let go mentally and emotionally is necessary for us to stay healthy and keep life flowing. And one of the things he said, because this is just a summary of it, somebody else wrote up, is um, when we inhale the oxygen and hold it, it's like, how did he describe it? We have to exhale it in order to bring in something new, right? And so, yeah, maybe this time, if we can, as people who are experiencing long term COVID symptoms, if we can begin to see what is it that maybe we um, are holding on to but need to let go of in order to let something new come in. There's something about COVID to me that it's very intelligent energy. I feel crazy saying that, but it does feel like intelligent energy to me. Just in the way that I'm experiencing it in my body, I'm like, wow, it knows exactly what to do. You want to stop me from overworking? Make my stomach hurt. Oh my gosh, it stops me in my tracks. But maybe some of us don't understand that we were probably, some of us were on a runaway train. This whole culture, the whole world, because it has affected the whole world, was on a runaway train. Lack of compassion and love and care. I've also felt like because it affected the lungs, it was such a big, um, it reflects our inability to grieve. I don't know if maybe there was a need for grief, but nobody could express it. We were too busy. Nobody has time to be grieving. Are you kidding me? We've got to go to work, or we're working on this project or that, or taking care of the kids, or, whatever. Gratitude is number 8. It is commonly said that being grateful gives us more things to be grateful for. This is based on the lived experience that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And I would say this might be one of the biggest um, healing attitudes that we could take on, gratitude. Uh, like I said, when I start feeling sorry for myself, I'm just going to look at other long haulers. I'll be better just like that. It's horrifying to see how debilitated some people are from the symptoms, the long-term symptoms of COVID. And you just feel this is probably part of what we're feeling. You feel so, what's the word? um, like the people who have illnesses where, you got to go to the doctor all the time and they're like, you got this diagnosis. They sort of get support that people who are like, you don't have energy and you can't get out of bed, you're just looked at as lazy, right? No one really cares. They're like, why are you just laying around whining? I had that when I was experiencing what I call chronic fatigue, no, adrenal fatigue. Yeah, adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, something like that. At the beginning of menopause, just zero energy, look so healthy, but felt so like devoid of life. And so, you just feel like nobody cares. The world just goes on. You're not feeling well, and everybody else is feeling well. The world just goes on. It's not easy. It's not, especially when you felt okay before you had COVID. And so, how can gratitude help us? Gratitude can help us by, well, I mean, what can we give thanks for? I will not always do this or cultivate this attitude through comparing myself to people who feel worse than me or have worse sicknesses. But I'm mostly back. Even though I don't feel well in my stomach right now, I'm mostly back. I can get up, I can walk, I can drive, I can function in life. I have a husband who loves me. My kids love me and adore me. I have friends who have been very supportive of me. And um, at the end of the day, I keep doing the things that I want to do, such as work on my membership site. It's like I can muster the energy. I'm so grateful that every time I need to go live, um, there's something in me. It's such a desire to do that kind of work that I can muster the energy, get on. Man, the people on my membership site are some of the best humans on the face of the planet. Like, wow. I always feel so much better when I get off from meeting with them. Uh, like, even now, just me going through all the things that I'm grateful for, I actually feel better. Number 8, gratitude, baby. I'm really going to be cultivating that. The last one is generosity. This attitude bridges our own mindfulness practice to our surroundings, to not just include yourself, but all the people in your life in your practice of the 9 attitudes of mindfulness. In that way, you share the fruits of your practice and might experience that giving and receiving often happens simultaneously. And so, yeah, generosity. And I can say having COVID has made me more generous. Before COVID, it broke my heart to see so many people getting it. I never really said too much. If they posted on Facebook, I would put up the little care thing, didn't comment too much because I didn't really know what to say, but I would definitely wanted to show concern. Um, but since having it, I'm way more generous. Like when I see people who have it, I'm like, "How you doing?" And um, you know, just doing my best to not kind of doing my best to extend love and care, even though I'm still struggling. And uh, yeah, I even struggle with, I don't want to talk about it too much with people because I don't want to end up, people just don't want to hear from me, which is why I'm making this video. Because it's like, I really want to process this but I can't process it with a whole bunch of people. Too empathic, too empathic. If they're not talking mindfulness right now today, can't do it. But I will say, yes, this generous spirit. I've always felt like I was generous, but generous to a certain degree out of feeling, which is not bad. Okay, it's not bad. Inadequate. and now I'm generous just because it's like, wow, people need a soft touch. People need um, loving, kind energy, just generous because it's like, it's just a lovely way of being. Um, so, okay. I hope this helps somebody out there. I plan on coming back and talking about this a little bit more. Mindfulness is known for helping people who have chronic pain. And so I've been studying mindfulness before, um, mostly for emotional and mental well being. But now I see it might have a place for those who are experiencing long term effects from having COVID because there's no real answers for us. We definitely need to be watching what we eat and, taking our vitamins, doing all we can for our bodies to shore our bodies up. I think that there is also a case to be made for mindfulness. Mindfulness heals the emotions and the mind. And just sitting here going through this list of the 9 attitudes, my stomach, the pain in my stomach has decreased by about 70%. Wow. So, yeah, I'll be getting back on talking about this. All right. Bless you.